It is your drive home here on this Tuesday afternoon, powered by Mr. Sparky.
Need a licensed electrician to service your home? Give us a jingle, or just use this one.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
For local pros, call Mr. Sparky.
And we're pleased to be joined now on the hotline here by Lynn Scarbrough from Lindy's. Of course, you can hear him on the radio. You can read his columns on Lindy's website as well. Lynn, how you doing?
Russell, I'm doing great. Doing well. Hope that you and Zach are too. I liked a little catchy tune there by Mr. Sparky. So I don't think we've got a Mr. Sparky franchise down in my area down here, but we'll keep an eye out for it. Appreciate people that sponsor the shows that Lindy's get to be involved with, and we're glad to be on with you, and hope I'll see y'all on Saturday.
Well, tell us, what did you think going back to that Arkansas Ole Miss game? Just what were some of your takeaways from that?
Well, I mean, I was surprised at it, honestly, because I really thought, I'd been saying on other radio shows and so on, that I thought that both of those teams had improved their defenses this year. And maybe they still have, but it's hard to tell in a game that's 52-51 and has both teams get over 600 yards total offense. I mean, when you get over 300 yards passing and over 300 yards rushing in the same game, and I know Arkansas did that, and Ole Miss might have come about 10 yards short maybe in the rushing game, but both of these teams, I'd love to see the tackle charts on the final box score of that. I was just expecting more defense, and it's hard. You play a 60-minute game and you score over 100 points. You're scoring two points a minute, and that's a whole lot of points and a whole lot of yards. You got a lot of talented individual players on both of those teams, and I think that showed particularly on the offensive side, obviously, in that game on Saturday. But I was surprised at that. I was surprised as much at that really as it was that Arkansas just got nothing against Georgia. Now Georgia to me is the best team in the country, and I wrote a column this week that y'all may have seen, and I don't think there's any question that Georgia's the best team in the in the conference, but I think they're going to win the national championship, and rightfully so. Their last three games have been SEC games, grand total score of 133-10. And when you'd be hard pressed to beat a three pretty good high school teams 133-10, and that's what they've done in their last three SEC ball games, and that's mighty tough to touch. But Arkansas's got some great individual players, and Jefferson my goodness, he's fantastic. And he's how often do you get players that do what he does in the same game? I saw that thing where Coach Pittman claimed that he was teaching him his touchdown jumps, and I think if Coach Sam was probably on a trampoline, he couldn't do what his quarterback does. But I still think Traylon Burks is best wide receiver in the conference. Bad luck for LSU. That they've lost what I figure was the second best receiver in the conference in Boutte, and that's a team that needs some breaks to go their way, and they're not. So that was a bad situation for LSU. But I think you've got really good skilled people, and I think your linebackers are outstanding, and not just because Bumper Pool's got one of the best 2 or 3 names in all of college football, but you got strong linebacker play. Well, and Auburn does too, but Owen Papo, who we've got, I think is a second-team All-American from Lindy's preseason, for sure first-team All-SEC, has not played. I don't think he played in the game at Penn State. I know he's missed the 3 games after that, and he's their best linebacker. And they got a guy named Jacoby McClain who led the SEC team tackles last year. He had to miss a game, and then against Georgia, they also missed Smoke Monday, who is another one of their senior outstanding players. I think we had him second team All-SEC, and he got a penalty for targeting in the first quarter and had to miss the whole rest of that ball game. So I think you got two of the better linebacking corps in the SEC when all of those guys are playing and all of them are healthy. But and I don't know about Arkansas' situation, but Auburn once again, having one of the country's best linebacker groups, very well may not have that unit intact when they play on Saturday.
Looking at Auburn from the outside in, and we get a 30,000-foot view of them.
Sure.
They have. It seems like 1 week it's good, 1 week it's bad. There's a lot of tumult between Bo Nix and Brian Harsin and the whole thing. From an insider's point of view, I mean, is this just a regular year on the Plains? Because they have their fair share of drama, but is this just a regular year, or are we making too much out of this?
Well, I mean, maybe it's just a regular year. This is the third. Bo Nix has been the quarterback 3 years. This is his third offensive coordinator. And that's generally not a formula for consistency. Your idea is that if you got a quarterback that starts as a freshman, which he did, that by the time you're a junior and a senior, you've got continuity and the systems well. And this is the third consecutive year that they're in a new offensive system, new offensive coordinator. But the trouble's not so much Bo Nix. I mean, he's got scrambling ability and running ability, as you saw against LSU and some against Penn State. But they don't have receivers that can catch the ball. And I got a message yesterday from somebody that covers Auburn that said they had looked at the tape and that if the players, there's a difference in dropping a pass and not catching a pass. And in dropping a pass, you've actually got the ball in your hands. You should grasp it and bring it in, but you drop it. And in not catching a pass, the quarterback throws it to you, hits you in the numbers, hits you on the hands, and you never get a grasp on it. It ricochets off. They had one of those ricochets. Bo Nix threw it right to the guy, and he starts making his turn before he's really running. The ball ricochets off, goes right into the hands of a Georgia defensive back on like the 17 or 19-yard line, would ring up one of Georgia's scores right there. Auburn has a guy named Shedrick Jackson, who is Bo Jackson's nephew, by the way, and he's wide open for a touchdown in the end zone on Saturday against Georgia, and the ball literally hits him in the numbers and bounces off of him. And you can't do that and win a ball game against a good team. And Auburn had either, I don't remember if it was 5 or 7, but they either had 5 or 7 drops. And the message I got said if they had not done that, the Bo Nix would have been 31 for 38 for over 300 yards against Georgia's defense. Well, they weren't. If a frog had wings, and all how that goes. But Auburn's got to get an offensive line that can consistently block, and then they've got to get receivers that can catch the ball. And if I was Arkansas, I would take advantage of that. I would load up and make that offensive line. I would make Auburn throw the ball because they got 2 really, really good running backs. Actually, got 3 good running backs, but the offensive line is not being consistent. I would load up and make that offensive line protect Bo Nix and give holes for those running backs to run. And I'd leave man coverage, and because there's a reasonable chance Auburn receiver's going to drop the ball. And until the offensive line protects Nix consistently, which they haven't done, and the receivers consistently catch the ball, which they haven't done, that's what I would recommend Arkansas to do. Of course, the next time a coach asks me for an opinion, that'll be the first time. So I'm not expecting. Sam Pittman does not have my cell phone number. I suspect that he's not trying to find it.
We're talking with Lynn Scarbrough from Lindy's here on Ruskin and Zach. Lynn, do you think Alabama's? I don't think Alabama's totally out of this. Do you?
Well, no, of course they're not out of it. I more or less dig into that in my column today on our website and on our Facebook page. Alabama got a real break in that they're Alabama because they're I addressed that in the column. They dropped from 1st to 5th. If you had take any other team in the top 10 and let them play a team that in back-to-back weeks has gotten beaten by Mississippi State and Arkansas, that the week before that they played Colorado, beat them 10-7 on a touchdown with about 2 minutes left in the game. The next week, Colorado got beat 30-0 at home by Minnesota, which the next week got beat by Bowling Green. So Alabama didn't exactly beat a consistent juggernaut playing with his backup quarterback on Saturday, and they've got a touchdown lead with about 5 minutes left in the game to get outscored 10-0 down the stretch to blow the game. That to me doesn't really sound like the resume of a team that ought to be number 5 in the country. But apparently it is, because they're ahead of Michigan, that's undefeated, Michigan State, that's undefeated, Ohio State, that has exactly the same record, but instead of losing to what I just described for Texas, they lost a narrow game to number 9 Oregon. Penn State has got the same record, but instead of losing to a team with the record of Texas A&M, they went on the road and barely lost to number 2 Iowa. But for some reason, Alabama's ranked ahead of every one of those teams. So yeah, if you're going to be stuck there, then if you win the rest of your ball games, then you're in position to move into the number 4 spot by merit of being put at number 5 in the poll. Now, I would suspect that with Michigan and Michigan State both being undefeated and going to be playing each other, going to be playing Ohio State, Penn State's going to have a word in that. I don't know which other ones that Iowa plays, but you've got 4 teams right below Alabama, all of which can make a strong case that they should right now be ahead of Alabama. And Alabama doesn't play Georgia and doesn't play Kentucky. The 2 teams with better records than them in the conference right now are Georgia and Kentucky. Once again, Alabama gets the luck of the draw and doesn't play either one of them. So if Alabama wins the rest of their games, which they will be favored to do, then they're going to have to feel like, or they're going to have to hope, that Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa, or Ohio State, any of the 5, do not have such impressive, that 2 of them don't have impressive enough resumes to be ahead of Alabama at the end, because Georgia's going to be there, unless Alabama would have run the table and beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now, that's a possibility. And if that would happen, I don't see Cincinnati losing a game. Sure, as I say that, Malzahn's team will beat them with Central Florida this weekend, but I don't see them losing the game. And Oklahoma, if you can come back from 28-7 in the first quarter to Texas, now I'll tell you a game, guys, it's going to be worth the money. Y'all could drive over and see it because it's not that far from y'all, is Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I think they play in Stillwater maybe the day before Thanksgiving. I know it's toward the end of the year. And that if both teams do what they should, Oklahoma State's already beat Baylor. And if Oklahoma beats Baylor, then you've got the Oklahoma and Oklahoma State with no losses, and the closest guy to them has got 2 losses. So it would be the winner of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. If one of those guys gets undefeated, I think it's going to be difficult to keep them out of the Final Four. I can't see Georgia being out of the Final Four, maybe even if they lose to Alabama, if they've gone undefeated. And Cincinnati's got a mighty strong case. They've won at Big Ten team Indiana. They've won at Notre Dame. I think beat them by double digits. And they're beating people 50-3. And, it's very, very possible that this will be the year that a group of 5 team gets in there. So I think Alabama's got a chance, no question. If they run the table and beat Georgia and get luck on what some of these other teams do to knock each other out, then, yeah, Alabama could be in there. That's the only other SEC team that's got any shot.
The College Football Playoff's a TV show, and I was listening to a podcast yesterday, a national podcast, where they were talking about getting people ready for the idea of a 2-loss SEC champion being invited into the College Football Playoff. To me, this is insanity that we're that a 2-loss non-conference champion or a 2-loss conference champion, and it could happen to the Big Ten because all those teams in the top 10 play each other. But over a team like a Cincinnati or a BYU or a Coastal Carolina who runs the table, goes 12-0, you're going to put in a 2-loss team simply because of their name.
Well, I don't think Brigham Young could make a case for it. I definitely don't think Coastal Carolina can, because you would have Cincinnati undefeated at 12-0 and a conference champion, and you'd have Coastal Carolina 12-0 and a conference champion. But Coastal Carolina hadn't beaten anybody the comparison of going to Notre Dame and winning at South Bend, or going up and beating Penix and his group at Indiana. So Cincinnati not only can make the case from its record and being a conference champion, if it does that, but it also has gotten road wins against Power 5 teams, and Coastal Carolina wouldn't have that. I think it would be, if Cincinnati runs the table, and they are the conference champion with their record, if you don't let them play in the Final Four, then you just made a joke out of the playoff. But you really either need that to happen or need Cincinnati to win it. I'm a strong proponent, guys, of expanding the playoff. I really like the idea of an 8-team playoff. I don't like 12 as much. I think that's adding too many games. I think that's going to give them no way to do it except to pollute the bowls, and I think it's going to give somebody a bye week. And I don't like the idea of anybody having a bye week to play for the championship. I think it ought to be like, like basketball. I mean, you've got that play-in deal with 68 teams. But basically, nobody gets a bye week.
Right.
And nobody gets a bye week for NCAA baseball. And so I don't like it having a bye. And with 8 teams, you don't have to have a bye. But it doesn't need to be at 4. It's it's inherent because it's college football. You've got 5 Power 5 teams, and you ain't got but 4 chairs out there. Then somebody's going to sit on the floor. And if you throw Notre Dame into it as being a quasi-independent ACC now somewhat, and then if you throw in the same league, just like you said, like let's say Georgia and Alabama, or Alabama and LSU that got in at one time, then you're talking about 4 chairs for 5 conferences, and maybe only 3 conferences are represented. And you want to know why people around the country hate the SEC and why they resent it and why they don't like it? Well, there's your why. Because the entire system is not fair. And I'm an SEC guy. You know, I'm a journalism graduate from Auburn and went to Alabama to law school. I've covered SEC ball. First SEC game I attended and covered, guys, was 1961 or 68. That's how old I am. So I've been doing this longer than Andy Hodges, if you can possibly believe it.
Whoa!
So, it's true. It's true. I've actually been doing this longer than Andy Hodges. And I think probably when what's his name invented the first football, he had Andy test it out to see if it was okay. I heard that. I don't know if it's true now. I heard that. But anyhow, I've been covering SEC longer than Andy, and so I'm a pro SEC guy, but you also have to go for fairness. You know, when you cover sports, you got to cover them without a prejudice. You got to look at it, realistically and try to be objective. And objectively, I understand. I understand. I've gotten messages this week from people about this Associated Press ranking with Alabama 5 and all these undefeated Power 5 teams and all rated below them, and teams that got the same record that have only lost to teams in the top 10, not a team that was going for its 3rd consecutive loss. And I understand it. I don't blame them. I'd be hacked off too. And in an objective, fair world, that's not the way it would happen. But if you look back at 2017, Alabama didn't win its state championship. It lost to Auburn. It didn't win its division championship. It didn't play for it. Didn't play for its conference championship. However, it got voted into the Final Four and they won the game and they won the championship. Well, other teams around the country resent that.
Yeah.
Why do you have a team that closed with a loss, didn't beat its state rival, didn't win its own division, didn't even play for its conference championship, and you've got teams that did do those things that don't get invited to go to the Final Four? And so if people say, why do people feel that way about the SEC? Well, that right there's an example of why they feel that way about the SEC.
Yeah. We've got to leave it there, Lynn. We appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Yeah, will y'all be in the press box Saturday?
No, I'll be on my couch.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right, man. Looking forward to being in Fayetteville this weekend.
All right, thank you. Lynn Scarbrough, Lindy's with us here on Ruskin and Zach. Lindy's website there. You can read Lynn's column and a bunch of college football stuff on there, too, on the Lindy's website. I didn't get to ask him. If you like defense, don't put the SEC network on at 6:30 Saturday night. Ole Miss plays Tennessee. The total is 81 on the game.
Oh, I think
81.
I think that's low.
You think so?
They might be there at halftime.
The total last week for Arkansas Ole Miss was in the 60s, and it was 93, 4, whatever it was.
What?
It was in the 90s. Who? Arkansas Ole Miss.
It was 52-51. Hang on.
It's 93. That's 103. That's right, 103. I don't remember scores or stats. I don't look this stuff up. I don't care. I'm not here for my sports acumen, all right? I'm here for my chiseled good looks and
or your
A+
math skills.
winning personality.
Or your math skills. It's fine.
Nobody in broadcasting can do math. It's fine.
We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of these amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.